Let us begin with a truth so staggering that it will rearrange your understanding of intelligence itself. The elephant is not just the largest land animal on Earth. It is one of the most emotionally complex, socially sophisticated, and intellectually profound creatures ever to walk this planet. An elephant can grieve for days over a dead companion. It can recognize itself in a mirror, a feat achieved by only a handful of species, including humans, dolphins, and great apes. It can remember the location of water sources it visited decades ago across vast distances through droughts and seasons. It can communicate through infrasound, sound waves so low that humans cannot hear them, traveling for miles through the ground, allowing elephants to talk to each other even when they are completely out of sight. It has a brain that weighs over 5 kilograms with more neurons than a human brain, folded and structured in ways that scientists are only beginning to understand. And yet, despite all this intelligence, all this emotional depth, all this ancient wisdom, the elephant is being pushed to the brink of extinction, not by natural predators, not by disease, by us, by human greed, human expansion, human conflict. The elephant has walked this earth for over 50 million years. It has witnessed the rise and fall of entire species, the shifting of continents, the coming and going of ice ages. It was here before we were, and if we are not careful, it will be gone before we are. Today, we are telling the biography of the elephant. Not one elephant, but all elephants. The African Savanna Elephant, the African Forest Elephant, and the Asian elephant. 3 species, each with its own story, its own struggle, and its own gift to the world. The elephant family, Elephantidae, has a history that stretches back over 50 million years, beginning with small pig-like creatures in the ancient Egypt. These early proboscideans, so named for their trunks or proboscises, slowly grew larger, adapted to different environments, and spread across the globe. At one point, there were over 100 species of elephants and their relatives, including the woolly mammoth, the mastodon, and the dwarf elephants of the Mediterranean islands. Today, only 3 species remain. The African Savanna Elephant, Loxodonta africana, is the largest, with males reaching up to 4 meters at the shoulder and weighing as much as 6,000 kilograms, more than a fully loaded pickup truck. It lives in the open grasslands and woodlands of sub-Saharan Africa, where it roams across vast territories in search of food and water. The African forest elephant, Loxodonta cyclotis, is smaller, with straighter tusks and rounder ears, living in the dense rainforests of Central and West Africa. It is more elusive and less studied than its savanna cousin, but it plays a critical role in maintaining the health of the rainforest ecosystem. The Asian elephant, Elephas maximus, is the only living species outside Africa. It is smaller than the African savanna elephant, with a distinctively domed head and smaller ears. It lives in the forests and grasslands of South and Southeast Asia, from India to Indonesia, and has been closely intertwined with human civilization for thousands of years. Despite their differences, all elephants share a common set of features: the trunk, an extraordinary fusion of nose and upper lip with over 40,000 muscles capable of lifting enormous weights or delicately picking a single blade of grass. The tusks, which are elongated incisors used for digging, stripping bark, and fighting. The large flapping ears, which help regulate body temperature. And the massive column-like legs, which must bear the weight of the world's largest land animal. The elephant is a masterpiece of evolution, but it is also a masterpiece of vulnerability. What defines an elephant? Let us start with the body, because the elephant's body is a monument to biological engineering. The trunk is arguably the most versatile appendage in the animal kingdom. It has over 40,000 muscles and can perform hundreds of distinct movements. An elephant can use its trunk to pick up a single peanut, to spray water over its back, to greet a companion with a gentle touch, to push over a tree, or to draw intricate patterns in the dust. The trunk is also the elephant's primary organ of communication. It can produce a variety of sounds, from rumbles to trumpets, and it can detect vibrations in the ground through its sensitive tip. The trunk is in essence a hand, a nose, a voice, and a weapon all in one. The tusks, which are elongated incisors made of ivory, grow continuously throughout the elephant's life. They're used for digging, for stripping bark from trees, for fighting, and for signaling dominance. In African elephants, both males and females have tusks. In Asian elephants, only males typically have them, and many males are tuskless. The ears are another defining feature. African elephants have large fan-shaped ears that help them radiate heat, a crucial adaptation for surviving the hot savanna. Asian elephants have smaller, rounder ears, reflecting their adaptation to cooler, forested environments. The ears are also used for communication. Elephants flap them to signal aggression, to cool down, or to acknowledge a greeting. The skin of an elephant is thick, up to 2.5 centimeters in places, but it is also sensitive. Elephants use mud and dust baths to protect their skin from the sun and from parasites. The feet are perhaps the most underappreciated part of the elephant's anatomy. Each foot has a thick, fatty pad that acts as a shock absorber, allowing the elephant to walk almost silently despite its enormous weight. This pad also helps the elephant detect infrasonic vibrations through the ground, a kind of seismic communication that allows elephants to hear with their feet. As for the senses, elephants have a sense of smell that is superior to any mammal, surpassing even that of dogs. Their hearing is also highly acute, capable of detecting frequencies far below the range of human hearing. Their vision is relatively poor, but they compensate with their extraordinary olfactory and auditory abilities. The elephant's brain is the largest of any land animal, weighing over 5 kilograms and containing more neurons than a human brain. The hippocampus and prefrontal cortex are highly developed, regions associated with memory and executive function. This is the biological basis for the elephant's famous memory, not a myth, but a scientifically demonstrated reality.
Now let us talk about the elephant's daily life and social structure. Because the elephant is not a solitary wanderer. It is a deeply social animal, living in complex matriarchal societies. The basic unit of elephant society is the family group, led by an older female known as the matriarch. The matriarch is the repository of the group's collective knowledge. She remembers the locations of water sources, the routes to food, the dangers of certain areas, and the histories of other elephant groups. She makes the decisions about where to go, when to move, and how to respond to threats. The family group is composed of related females and their offspring. Young males leave the group when they reach adolescence, forming bachelor groups or living solitary lives. This social structure is not just a collection of individuals, it is a sophisticated network of relationships, alliances, and bonds that last for decades. Elephants communicate through a complex repertoire of vocalizations, body language, and seismic signals. They produce low-frequency rumbles that can travel for miles through the ground, a form of communication that humans cannot perceive without special equipment. These infrasonic calls convey information about the elephant's location, emotional state, and identity. Elephants also use visual signals, flapping ears, raised tails, and specific postures to communicate with nearby individuals. Touch is also crucial. Elephants greet each other with trunk touches and mutual rubbing, reinforcing social bonds.
They engage in elaborate greeting ceremonies that can last for minutes, involving trunk intertwining, ear flapping, and vocalizing. The life of an elephant is a journey of learning. Calves are born with no knowledge of the world. They must learn everything from their mothers and other members of the group. They learn how to use their trunks, a process that takes months, as the trunk has no bones and must be controlled entirely by muscle memory. They learn how to distinguish between edible and poisonous plants. They learn how to find water in times of drought. They learn the social rules of elephant society, how to show respect to the matriarch, how to approach a dominant elephant, how to signal submission. This learning is not instinctive, it is cultural, passed down from generation to generation through observation and imitation. This is why elephants are so vulnerable to the loss of their elders. When poaching kills the oldest, most knowledgeable elephants, the entire group loses its memory, its culture, and its ability to survive. The elephant's diet is one of the most consuming and time-intensive activities of its day. An adult elephant requires up to 300 kilograms of food per day. That is more than 3,000 apples or 200 loaves of bread. They spend up to 18 hours a day eating, moving constantly to find enough vegetation. This constant movement is not just a survival strategy, it is also an ecological service. Elephants are ecosystem engineers. They knock down trees, creating clearings that allow sunlight to reach the forest floor, promoting the new growth of vegetation. They dig for water in dry riverbeds, creating water holes that benefit other animals. They eat fruit and disperse seeds over vast distances, planting new forests. They create paths through dense vegetation that other animals use. The elephant's digestive system is remarkably efficient for a herbivore. They ferment plant material in their hindgut, extracting nutrients from tough, fibrous vegetation that most animals cannot digest. They also have a unique ability to recycle water, absorbing moisture from the vegetation they consume and producing dry, fibrous dung. Their dung is not waste, it is a critical component of the ecosystem. It provides nutrients to the soil, feeds insects, and even serves as a food source for other animals. In many ecosystems, the dung of elephants is the primary method of seed dispersal for certain plant species. Some plants have evolved to require passage through an elephant's digestive system before they can germinate. Without elephants, these plants would disappear. This ecological role makes the elephant a keystone species, a species whose presence is essential for the entire ecosystem to function. Lose the elephant, and you lose the forest. Lose the forest, and you lose the water, the soil, and countless other species. The elephant is not just a magnificent animal, it is the glue that holds entire landscapes together. Reproduction is another critical aspect of the elephant's life story. Elephants have the longest gestation period of any land animal, 22 months, almost 2 years. This extended pregnancy allows the calf to be born with a highly developed brain, capable of coordinating its movements and understanding its mother's signals from the moment it emerges. The newborn calf weighs between 90 and 120 kilograms, that is the size of a human adult, and stands about a meter tall at the shoulder. It is born in a standing position, drops to the ground, and is immediately attended to by its mother and other females in the group. For the first few weeks of its life, the calf relies almost entirely on its mother's milk, which is rich in fat and nutrients. But it also learns from the adults around it, how to use its trunk, how to interact with other elephants, how to respond to threats. The mother elephant is fiercely protective of her calf, but she is not alone. The other females in the group serve as allo-parents, aunties, grandmothers, and sisters who help rear the calf, protecting it, playing with it, and teaching it. This cooperative parenting is one of the hallmarks of elephant society. Calves are weaned about 3 to 5 years, but they remain close to their mothers for much longer. Male elephants stay with their family groups until adolescence, when they begin to wander and eventually leave to form bachelor groups or live solitary lives. Females, by contrast, typically remain with their family groups for life, forming the core of the matriarchal society. The reproductive cycle of elephants is long and slow. Females reach sexual maturity in their early teens, but they may not have their first calf until their late teens. They give birth every 3 to 5 years, and they continue to reproduce into their 50s. This slow rate of reproduction makes elephants particularly vulnerable to population declines. If a herd is decimated by poaching, it can take decades for it to recover. The bonds between elephants are not just social, they are biological. Elephants produce oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in large quantities, fostering strong emotional connections. They have been observed demonstrating empathy, cooperation, and even altruism.
Now let us talk about the elephant's daily struggle, because life for an elephant is not a peaceful stroll through the jungle. It is a constant battle against hunger, thirst, heat, disease, and predators. For elephants, the single greatest threat is not any natural predator, it is scarcity. During droughts, elephants must travel vast distances to find water, often walking for days without rest. The matriarch leads the group, guided by her memory of water sources she visited decades ago. If she makes a mistake, the group may die. This is not a theoretical risk, it has happened. Entire families of elephants have perished in dry riverbeds, waiting for rain that never came. In addition to natural threats, elephants face the constant menace of human-wildlife conflict. As human populations expand into elephant territory, the animals are forced to compete for resources. Elephants raid crops, destroying livelihoods in a single night. They knock down fences, trample homes, and occasionally injure or kill humans. The response is often lethal. Elephants are shot, poisoned, or driven away. This conflict is not the fault of the elephants. It is a byproduct of habitat loss. When elephants lose their forests, they have no choice but to seek food in human settlements. The tragedy is that both sides suffer. In addition to conflict, elephants face the persistent threat of poaching. The illegal ivory trade has driven elephant populations to the brink of extinction in many regions. An estimated 100 elephants are killed every day in Africa, primarily for their tusks. The ivory is used to make trinkets, ornaments, and religious objects. The demand comes primarily from Asia, where ivory is seen as a status symbol. Despite international bans, the trade continues, fueled by poverty, corruption, and organized crime. It is not just the elephants that die. The poachers often kill the matriarchs, the oldest, wisest elephants, because they have the largest tusks. When a matriarch dies, her knowledge dies with her. The remaining elephants may wander lost for years, unable to find water or food. The trauma of witnessing the killings also affects the survivors. Elephants have been shown to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. They become aggressive, anxious, and socially dysfunctional. This is not a metaphor, it is a real, measurable condition.
How is the elephant useful to humans? Let us count the ways that are rarely acknowledged. First, ecosystem engineering. Elephants are the gardeners of the wilderness. They create habitats for other species. They disperse seeds that would otherwise rot. They create water holes that sustain entire ecosystems. The disappearance of elephants would lead to a chain of extinctions, as the species that depend on the environments they create would also vanish. Second, tourism. Elephant watching is a multi-billion-dollar industry in many parts of Africa and Asia. Local communities depend on the revenue generated by tourists coming to see elephants. This revenue supports schools, health clinics, and infrastructure. Third, carbon sequestration. Elephants maintain forests by spreading seeds and nutrients. Healthy forests absorb more carbon dioxide, mitigating the effects of global warming. Elephants are thus an unexpected but powerful weapon in the fight against global warming. Fourth, cultural significance. Elephants have been central to the religions, mythologies, and cultures of Asia for millennia. In Hinduism, the elephant-headed god Ganesha is the remover of obstacles and the lord of wisdom. In Buddhism, the white elephant is a symbol of the Buddha's birth. In African folklore, elephants are seen as wise elders, guardians of the forest. This cultural connection is not just sentiment, it is practical force for conservation. Communities that view elephants as sacred are less likely to kill them. Fifth, scientific research. Elephants are a window into the evolution of intelligence, sociality, and long-term memory. Studying elephants can help us understand the origins of empathy, cooperation, and culture in animals. Their physiology also holds clues for medicine. Elephants are unique among mammals in that they rarely develop cancer. They have multiple copies of a gene called P53, which suppresses tumors. This is known as the Peto's paradox and is being studied as a potential breakthrough for human cancer treatments. Now, what can humans learn from the elephant? First, the value of memory. Elephants remember. They remember the good and the bad. Human cultures that forget their history are doomed to repeat its mistakes. Second, the power of matriarchy. Elephant society shows that older, wiser females are essential for the survival of the group. Humans should honor their elders. Third, that grief is a sign of love. Elephants mourn their dead. Humans sometimes suppress grief, thinking it is weakness. It is not. Grief is the price of love. Fourth, that cooperation saves lives. Elephants work together, not just for their own good, but for the good of the group. Humans have become hyper-individualistic. The elephant teaches us to be communal. Fifth, that size is not a shield. Elephants are the largest land animals, yet they are vulnerable. Humans, with all our power, are also vulnerable. We are not invincible. We need to protect ourselves and our planet.
Now, let us talk about conservation, because the story of the elephant is not over. It is being written now by each of us. The African savanna elephant is classified as endangered. The African forest elephant is critically endangered. The Asian elephant is endangered. The populations of all three species are declining. The primary threats are habitat loss, human-wildlife conflict, and poaching. There are solutions. Protected areas, national parks, and wildlife reserves provide safe havens for elephants, but they are not always enough. Elephants need space to roam, and many of these areas are too small to sustain viable populations. Wildlife corridors can connect these protected areas, allowing elephants to move freely and maintain genetic diversity. Anti-poaching patrols, supported by technology like drones and GPS tracking, have been shown to reduce poaching. Ending the demand for ivory is also essential. This requires education, advocacy, and the enforcement of international bans. Community-based conservation is one of the most effective strategies. When local communities benefit from elephant tourism, they're more likely to protect elephants. When they have a say in conservation decisions, they're more likely to coexist with wildlife. Human-wildlife conflict can be reduced through simple measures: electric fences, beehives which deter elephants, and early warning systems that alert communities when elephants are approaching. Education is key.
People need to understand that elephants are not enemies. They are essential partners in the health of the planet. The recovery of elephant populations is possible. In some parts of Africa, elephant populations have rebounded due to successful conservation efforts. The recovery of the population in South Africa is a testament to what can be achieved with dedication, resources, and political will. But the fight is far from over. Climate change is adding new pressure as droughts become more frequent and severe. The future of the elephant depends on our choices today. We can continue down the path of destruction, or we can change course. We can choose to protect the elephant, not because it is useful to us, but because it has a right to exist. Because it is ancient, it is wise, it is irreplaceable.
And now we come to the final truth. The elephant has been on this planet for 50 million years. It has survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and the rise and fall of countless species. It was here when we were nothing more than small, fur-covered mammals scurrying between the legs of giants. It has witnessed the birth of human civilization, the building of pyramids, the rise and fall of empires. It has been worshipped as a god, hunted as a trophy, and loved as a companion. And yet, despite everything it has given us, its wisdom, its beauty, its ecological gifts, we are pushing it to the edge of extinction. Not because we need to, not because we have to, because we choose to. We choose greed over generosity. We choose convenience over consciousness. We choose the short-term gain over the long-term good. But it is not too late. We can still change course. We can still choose to protect the elephant, not just as a species, but as a symbol of all that is wild, wise, and wonderful in this world. Every time we look at an elephant, we see a creature that has survived against all odds, a creature that remembers its ancestors, that grieves its dead, that celebrates its living, a creature that teaches us what it means to be human. Because in the end, the elephant is not just an animal, it is a mirror. It reflects our capacity for love, for memory, for grief, and for hope. It shows us who we are and who we could become. So let us protect the elephant, not because it is useful, but because it is sacred. Not because it is big, but because it is beautiful. Not because it is endangered, but because it is irreplaceable. Let us give the elephant a future, not just for its sake, but for ours. Because a world without elephants is a world without wonder, a world without wisdom, a world without memory. And that is a world we do not want to live in.